Hi, I'm Xanthi, and welcome to my talk with Assistant Professor Josh Waterstone, who is the course leader of the BA Architecture here at Regents. Today we will be talking about the course in more depth, building a portfolio, and a future career in architecture. Could you tell us a bit about your journey into architecture and academia and what inspired you to do both and pursue both?
Yeah, sure. So I'm obviously assistant professor and course leader for the architecture program. I'm a practicing architect, and I've been practicing for about 18 years. So working really from the smallest scale through landscape, urbanism, large scale projects, um, exhibition design, furniture design. And I've always taught, and I've always practiced simultaneously. And I get a lot of energy from that, working between the two disciplines. So one kind of informs the other.
This is a new course at Regents. What do you think sets it apart, and how is it different to what's already out there?
So I think with changes in terms of accreditation and validation, it's a brilliant opportunity to design something from the ground up. So it's been a really robust, really rigorous process working with RIBA graduate attributes to design a for purpose, not a fix, but something that really responds to the current climate that we're living in and that we're working in. And that's been really, I think that's really important. I suppose the second aspect is the ethos that we're building into it. It's a pedagogical position. We really want to care for the students we have and we want to be able to help students develop a personal sensibility. Architecture is a really challenging program, a challenging course, and it's a competitive discipline. And I think by keeping the cohort sizes small and the studio culture really vibrant and the workshop culture really applied, we can help them, we can sort of nurture that process. And I suppose that's the second key point.
Do you think that students studying this course benefit from the wider range of courses that we offer at Regents? Do they have access to those courses?
Yeah, absolutely. So in designing the course, what we tried to do was reconcile all of Regent's qualities, that interdisciplinary collaborative approach, which is so strong. It's an opportunity for students to work across disciplines, to meet people from fashion, from interior design, from business, from marketing. And that exposure is really important. It allows people to reflect and sort of situate their own work. So I suppose, yeah, that's one aspect of the collaboration. We also will try to build live projects into every year and every term. So it's really a case of looking outwards and extending the processes in studio beyond that, whether it's into the city, engaging clients or consultants or, the industry in general, or whether it's engaging other students within the university.
I'm going to come back to a previous point. You mentioned social impacts, and what impact do you think AI is having on architecture and the future of architecture?
I mean, I think AI is having an enormous impact, and it's so immediate. It's happening so quickly. It's quite difficult for people to comprehend. But architecture has always adapted. It's an incredible discipline in the way it assumes technology and techniques. It's kind of a constant. So 30 years ago, whether it was CAD design or parametric design following that, or rendering, there's constantly technology impacting the way we practice. And I suppose AI it's another tool. What's important is the critical and analytical skills that we teach and that we practice over the course of 3 years. And we've tried to embrace it. We've tried to use it, whether it's a generative tool, whether it's a way to speed up proofreading, whether it's a way to streamline processes so students can focus on the principal narrative in their work. I think we see it as a positive.
We've spoken about Regents specifically in terms of what you'll be teaching and the course and access to other courses, but one of the reasons why students choose to study here is the campus itself. And obviously, I don't think I could skip past talking about the campus from an architecture point of view. How inspiring do you think that is?
Hugely inspiring. I think our campus is maybe the best asset we have. I think architecture, it doesn't exist in isolation. and a space within the heart of the city, within a landscape within the heart of the city, and then the gardens surrounding. It gives us kind of I suppose, a safe space, a contemplative space to work and design, and then to escape the campus and to feel the energy of the city. And I think that relationship between the energy that surrounds us and the calm and the quiet that we have within it, that dialectic is really, really strong. A lot of what we do already and what we will continue to develop is the idea of making at scale, making one-to-one. And the landscape around us is a fantastic test bed for us to be able to prototype, to mock up one-to-one, and to build things and construct things and to exhibit things. So really, it's a unique space to work in. It's a unique space to collaborate in.
Yeah, I think of all the courses that we offer, probably the most relevant to the students who come here of the campus is architecture and interior design. We obviously, you can study business anywhere, but when you're thinking about space and you're thinking about how you exist in that space, these two courses probably most benefit from where we are situated. And then of course, London skyline is iconic, right? It's an iconic city and there's lots of things happening here. But you're right, having the campus, having the park, having that mix of both is quite, yeah, I think I'm always interested to see what our students come up with because we do get to see their final projects and things when they finish. You also teach on the interior design program.
Yeah.
And there is a big sustainability focus in that course as well. Will that lean into the architecture course, and what do you sort of see as sustainability playing into the teaching that you'll do?
Yeah, I suppose I guess that's sort of two questions. One of the key principles that we're very interested in terms of architecture is this theme of adaptive reuse. So real material consciousness and an interest in material provenance. So where things come from and how to use them in a way that's sustainable. The interior design course, which is very close in proximity, and there will be shared modules in first year, is all about envisioning space or imagining space from the inside out. It's about the adaptive reuse of buildings and spaces. And I think architecture will pick up on the same themes, but perhaps it's a little more holistic. It's looking at not just the interior, but it's looking at the urban scale, and it's working through the building scale, right through the scale of the interior to the scale of an object. So it's a broader scale of work, but there will be the same themes around material consciousness, around provenance, and around technology as well.
Do you think an understanding of sustainable architecture and sustainable interior design is crucial to future careers that students would be pursuing in this area?
Yeah, it's absolutely critical. I think as a subject, it's always been important, but there's been a paradigm shift, and I think now it's not important, it's critical.
Something I'm always asked when I'm at fairs or meeting students when we're overseas is how can they build a successful portfolio? So for students who are applying, what's your advice for them for putting together their portfolios?
Okay, well, I would say the strongest portfolios that we see, they have character and identity. There's a real sense of the person behind the work. We really love to see process. We love to see method, the way someone thinks. So all of those critical decisions they make, all of the mistakes, all of the experiments that they might try through drawing or model making or photography. I think not making it too narrow, trying to engage social themes, cultural themes, to reference artists they love, to think about space and architecture. Really, it's as broad and inquisitive a range of interests as they can, because I suppose that frames the subject. Architecture is such a broad field. It touches everything. It's so bound up and connected to almost everything we do. And I think, in developing a portfolio, whatever level you're working at, you're trying to do the same thing. You're trying to touch on as many themes as you can. You're trying to be as expressive and as creative as you can be. at the same time.
Just out of curiosity, which way do your designs lean? What is sort of your niche area of design?
Yeah, good question. So I suppose having spent about 15 years working up to the kind of largest scale, working for big international offices in Copenhagen and in London, establishing my own practice, I wanted to focus more on sustainability and on craft. I wanted to change the scale and maybe spend more time and more care to make really strong design-led architecture, contextual architecture. That started with exhibition design. So I was commissioned to design a range of modular, reconfigurable exhibition cases for New Carlsberg Glyptotek in Copenhagen, which is a big museum there. And the idea was that these cases could be disassembled, reassembled, reconfigured, meaning there would be less exhibition design waste. And that went alongside a curated show called Amarna, which was looking at Egyptology. So there was a whole narrative around the exhibition of artifacts and antiquities from that period. Around that same time, I was working on a number of different houses, so transformations, renovations of 19th century houses, largely based around the interior, and then two new build houses, one just north of Copenhagen on the coast and one in London, just north of London in Highgate. And really, I think the relationship between the exhibition design, where it's so intricate and you're working on every detail, every facet, every profile through the scale of an interior, and you're analyzing and you're adapting and you're trying to best reveal the qualities of an existing house, right the way through then to building a new house. And that's an opportunity to sort of look ahead and try to make something timeless, something that will is robust enough to last for a very long time. And for people to enjoy for years to come.
Actually, you mentioned something timeless and something I was thinking about while you were talking. Is there a building anywhere in the world that you would point to and say that is the most architecturally beautiful sound thing I've ever seen?
Wow, what a question. Oh God, don't know if I can answer that. I can give you some examples. There's a building that when I feel a little bit lost, whether I'm working on a project with students or I'm working on a project in the office. It's called Thorvaldsens Museum. It's in Copenhagen. And Thorvaldsen was a kind of classical, he was a scholar, he traveled Europe and he was very interested in antiquities in Greece and Rome. And he came back to Copenhagen in the mid-18th century to build a sort of a home for everything he'd made. So busts and sculptures and figures. So it was a museum. It's a museum designed for the pieces he kind of collected and observed. And it's a kind of there are references to classicism, but it's incredibly timeless and in a way very, very modern. It has the most incredible murals and frescoes. It's a timeless piece of architecture. So I think that's something I would return to again and again.
What about something more iconic for those of us that don't know? Like if for example, you visit somewhere like India and the Taj Mahal is on everything because it's such an iconic landmark, or London, the Shard. But is there something that's just one of those timeless sort of pieces that everybody recognizes that you would say is a masterpiece?
An icon. Okay. Well, to me, an icon in London, which everyone should enjoy, is probably the National Theatre.
Okay.
And I think it's exemplar brutalism, which is of its time, but maybe is starting to be appreciated a little bit more now.
Okay, that's interesting. So as students coming to London, they need to add that to their stop on their tour when they're coming to get to know the campus. Regent famously doesn't have any prerequisite subjects for entry to any of our courses, but obviously coming to a course like architecture, there are subjects that you would prefer students to have a background in. So what would you want students to kind of have a background in, or what do you think is important for being successful in an architecture degree?
Okay, I don't think there's any one point of departure for architecture. It's kind of an attitude. I think being inquisitive, being I suppose creative, having an interest in all of those things that exist around us, the environment, the buildings that surround us, social things, the climate. Yeah, it's that want to learn that's the most important thing. People often ask me, is it about numeracy? Is it very technical? And I would say architecture is really as technical as you want it to be. It depends how you want to engage with it within the profession. What I would say is it's a demanding subject, and because it touches on so many different things, you need a certain work ethic. But the number one thing is a passion and an acquisitive nature, and that will take you very, very far.
So if I was to distill it down, students who are invited to interview for your course, you're looking for work ethic, creativity, passion, and a drive in that subject or that area.
Yeah, I think so. When I began studying architecture, I didn't know exactly where it would take me, and I'd studied maths at higher level, and I'd studied art, which at the time was quite a conventional route. And after a long time in the profession, I've realized that you can come at it from a social perspective or an environmental perspective. You can be really numerate or you can be really creative. Once the passion is there, you find a way, a facet or an aspect of the subject to engage with.
What advice would you give fresh graduates looking at the job market?
Wow, okay. I think these are challenging times in the job market, it's fair to say. But I think a graduate with a strong portfolio, a good sense of who they are, a good work ethic, an ability to communicate, an ability to work within a team, and probably an ability to lead and to take responsibility will always do well. And I think, through the connections I would have in industry, people who own offices or are in senior positions in large offices, they're always looking for talent.
It's definitely a highly employable degree. So, and obviously being in one of the most employable cities in the world, there's not a shortage of job opportunities. So I think our graduates are quite safe. But yeah, it's always good for them to kind of know that your work ethic is what can carry you even further than your degree or where you've got your degree from. Students who've done their research will know about RIBA accreditation. And of course, the course is not RIBA accredited yet because you have to go through a validation process. Is that right? Right? So at the undergraduate level, how important is RIBA accreditation and does it have an impact on the value of the degree?
The most important aspect of an architecture degree is that it provides you with a pathway to RIBA Part 2 at master's level. Our course has been designed very rigorously and very robustly to allow an appropriate pathway to RIBA Part 2. So we've been in dialogue with RIBA and we've worked according to their RIBA graduate attributes and the RIBA themes. That means that following graduation of the first cohort in 2029, provided our assessed students meet that standard, our first cohort will actually receive an RIBA Part 1 retrospectively.
Okay. And that RIBA Part 1 doesn't impact their ability to go on to do a master's at another university?
Not necessarily. It depends. It's the university at master's level can decide whether or not it's necessary. So the quality of the portfolio, the quality of the graduating work is actually the most important factor.
Okay. And so as part of a master's degree, this is where the sort of RIBA focus comes in, right? So when students are pursuing a master's degree, that is when they really should be focusing on whether or not the course is RIBA accredited or not.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
One sort of piece of advice that you would give to international students who are coming to London specifically to study architecture, what is one thing that you would want them to be prepared for?
Wow. I think be prepared for the energy and the energy of London. It's an incredible city and it's a city to be explored and enjoyed. through all of its various facets. And I think the key is to find that balance between your time in studio, your time in workshop, building and making and drawing and designing, and then taking a break and getting out there, seeing exhibitions, looking at buildings, going to talks, going to lectures. Because I suppose it's all of those interactions that are just as important as what you learn with us in the studio.
Great. Thank you very much, Josh.